What if we told you that billions of dollars meant for African development were stolen, not by local corruption, but by a foreign visa scam? From Lusaka to Brussels, a scandal is unraveling. Zambia wants its money back, and West Africa's boldest leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is now stepping in. The UK and EU are under fire, and the whole world is watching. Visa scam shocks Africa. The phrase, visa scam shocks Africa, suggests a large-scale fraudulent scheme involving visas, likely affecting multiple African nations. Visa scams typically involve intermediaries or agencies exploiting vulnerable individuals seeking travel, work, or residency opportunities abroad by promising fraudulent visas in exchange for large sums of money. Such scams are not uncommon in Africa, where economic desperation and aspirations for better opportunities in Europe or North America drive demand for international visas. However, no specific widely reported visa scam matching the scale implied by shocks Africa appears in the provided references or mainstream news sources as of my last update. The closest related issue is the broader phenomenon of online scams in West Africa, such as those described in a 2024 Guardian article about Nigerian and Ghanaian fraudsters pivoting to sextortion and other cybercrimes, facilitated by hustle kingdoms teaching scam techniques. These scams often target foreigners, but could theoretically extend to visa fraud aimed at Africans. Additionally, a 2025 article from the Africa Report mentions Nigerians being lured to Burkina Faso's gold mines with false promises of lucrative jobs, which could involve fraudulent visa or travel schemes. These cases, however, are localized and not explicitly tied to a continent-wide visa scandal. Without concrete details, I can hypothesize that the visa scam could involve fraudulent agencies, private companies or individuals in Africa or abroad, possibly in the UK/EU, as later headlines suggest, promising work or residency visas for payment, only to deliver fake documents or nothing at all. Exploitation of migration desperation. Many Africans seek legal pathways to emigrate due to economic hardship, political instability, or conflict, e.g. Burkina Faso's jihadist insurgency. Scammers could exploit this, charging exorbitant fees for non-existent opportunities. Cross-border implications. The mention of Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana in later headlines suggests the scam might involve multiple countries, possibly coordinated through regional networks or international actors. To fully explain this, more details are needed about the scam's nature, scale, and perpetrators. If this headline refers to a specific event reported on platforms like X, as hinted by posts from July 22, 2025, it may reflect unverified or emerging claims that have not yet been substantiated by major outlets. The hidden visa empire. What was stolen? This headline implies a secretive, organized system termed a visa empire that facilitated the scam, with something valuable, likely money, trust, or resources, being stolen. The term empire suggests a complex network, possibly involving powerful actors in Africa and abroad, e.g. UK/EU, as later accused. Without direct evidence, I'll analyze what this could mean based on similar cases and regional dynamics. Possible interpretations. Financial theft. Victims of visa scams typically lose significant sums. For example, in Nigeria, scams like the Nigerian prince emails or job frauds, as in the Burkina Faso gold mine case, involve extracting money from victims. A visa empire could be a network of agencies, brokers, or even corrupt officials profiting from fraudulent visa schemes, amassing millions or billions. Stolen opportunities. Beyond money, victims lose legitimate migration opportunities, as fraudulent visas often lead to deportation, blacklisting, or legal consequences. This erodes trust in migration systems. Systemic exploitation. The term empire might point to a broader system of exploitation, possibly involving Western institutions or governments, UK/EU, profiting from visa application fees, legal loopholes, or irregular migration flows. For instance, high visa rejection rates from European embassies, coupled with non-refunded fees, have long been criticized as exploitative. Context from sources. The Africa Report 2025 describes Nigerians being lured to Burkina Faso with false job promises, often facilitated by social media. This could be part of a hidden empire if organized by cross-border criminal networks, theafricareport.com. Historical visa-related issues in Africa include corrupt embassy officials or intermediaries charging for access to visa appointments, as seen in some Nigerian cases, not directly cited but widely known. A visa empire could involve such actors, possibly with complicity from foreign entities. What was stolen? Money. Victims likely paid large sums for fake visas or travel arrangements. Trust. Public confidence in legal migration pathways and government's ability to regulate them could be undermined. Sovereignty. If foreign actors, UK/EU, are involved, as later headlines suggest, the scam might reflect neo-colonial dynamics, where African resources, human and financial, are exploited under the guise of legitimate processes. Without specific reports, the hidden visa empire remains speculative. It could involve a syndicate of scammers, corrupt officials, or even legitimate businesses exploiting legal gray areas, but concrete evidence is needed. Zambian whistleblowers speak out. This headline suggests that individuals in Zambia have exposed the visa scam, likely at personal risk, given the challenges whistleblowers face in Africa. Whistleblowing in African contexts often often involves revealing corruption or fraud within government or private sectors, but it comes with significant dangers, including retaliation, imprisonment, or violence. Context on whistleblowing in Africa. A 2018 article from The Nation highlights the perils faced by African whistleblowers, such as those in South Africa exposing Gupta family corruption, or in Niger facing retaliation for reporting bank fraud. Despite legal protections in some countries, e.g. South Africa, whistleblowers often face hardship, as seen in the case of Falamata Awami, who lost her job after exposing fraud at Niger's agricultural bank, thenation.com. In Zambia, whistleblowing is less documented, but not uncommon. A 2025 Zambian Observer article mentions a leaked audio raising questions about governance under the UPND government, suggesting a culture of exposing misconduct. ZambianObserver.com. No specific reports in the provided sources mention Zambian whistleblowers exposing a visa scam, but the platform PPLAAF, Platform for the Protection of Whistleblowers in Africa, supports such efforts across the continent, providing legal aid and encrypted communications. TheNation.com. Who are the whistleblowers? Without direct evidence, we can infer government officials or insiders. Zambian civil servants or embassy staff might have uncovered irregularities in visa processing, possibly involving foreign embassies or agencies. Victims or activists. Ordinary Zambians affected by the scam or civil society groups could be speaking out, possibly through media or platforms like X. Risks faced. Whistleblowers in Zambia could face legal repercussions, job loss, or threats, especially if powerful foreign entities, UK/EU, or local elites are implicated. The lack of specific names or events in the sources suggests this story may be emerging or unverified. If real, these whistleblowers could be pivotal in exposing systemic fraud, but their identities and claims need corroboration. UK and EU accused. Where did the money go? This headline points to accusations against the UK and EU, likely for complicity in or benefiting from the visa scam. The question, where did the money go, suggests financial misconduct, possibly involving misappropriated funds from visa fees, aid, or related schemes. Possible scenarios. Visa application fees. European embassies charge non-refunded fees for visa applications, often hundreds of dollars, which can seem exploitative when rejection rates are high, e.g. Schengen visas for Africans. If a scam involved fake visas processed through legitimate channels, the UK/EU could be accused of profiting. Corrupt intermediaries. Agencies in the UK/EU might be facilitating fraudulent visas, with profits disappearing into private accounts or offshore entities. Neo-colonial exploitation. Critics might argue that Western institutions benefit from Africa's migration desperation, extracting wealth while offering little in return. Context from sources. No direct evidence in the provided references links the UK/EU to a visa scam in Zambia or Africa broadly. However, posts on X from July 22, 2025 mention Zambia demanding billions back from the UK and EU, suggesting a financial dispute tied to visas. These posts, by users at MarkTruth60 and at the Prophet 359, lack verifiable details and cannot be taken as conclusive evidence. Broader accusations of Western misconduct appear in sources discussing Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who has criticized France and the US for neo-colonial interference. For example, a 2025 article from Mr. Online accuses the US/EU/NATO of targeting Traoré for nationalizing resources, a narrative that could parallel claims of UK/EU exploitation in a visa scam. MrOnline.org. Where did the money go? Without specifics, possible destinations include private pockets. Corrupt officials or agencies in the UK/EU or Africa could be siphoning funds. Institutional profits. Embassies or visa processing companies might retain fees without delivering services. Offshore accounts. As seen in other African corruption scandals, e.g. South Africa's Gupta case, money could be laundered abroad. The accusation likely stems from anti-Western sentiment amplified by leaders like Traoré, but lacks substantiation in the provided data. Captain Ibrahim Traoré responds. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's military leader since 2022, is a polarizing figure known for his anti-imperialist stance and efforts to distance Burkina Faso from Western influence. His inclusion in this narrative suggests he has commented on the visa scam, possibly framing it as part of neo-colonial exploitation. Traoré's profile. Background. Born in 1988, Traoré led a coup in September 2022, ousting interim president Paul-Henri Damiba. At 37, he's one of the world's youngest leaders, styling himself as a Pan-Africanist in the mold of Thomas Sankara and Wikipedia, TheConversation.com. Anti-imperialist stance. Traoré has expelled French troops, rejected IMF/World Bank aid, and aligned with Russia, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger. He's popular among African youth for his defiance of Western powers. Nation, Africa Press TV, IR. Controversies. Critics accuse him of authoritarianism, including detaining journalists and conscripting critics into the military. His security policies have failed to curb jihadist violence, with 3,059 violent events since his rise to power. TheConversation.com. Possible response to the visa scam. Denouncing neo-colonialism. Traoré might frame the scam as a Western plot to exploit African migrants, aligning with his rhetoric against France and the US. For example, he's accused Western powers of destabilizing Burkina Faso through coup plots. BBC.com peoplesdispatch.org. Solidarity with Zambia. As a Pan-Africanist, Traoré could express support for Zambia's demands for compensation, possibly rallying other AES nations. No direct evidence. The provided sources don't mention Traoré addressing a visa scam. His response might be speculative or based on unverified ex-posts. If Traoré commented, it would likely amplify anti-Western sentiment, but without a primary source, his involvement remains unclear. Fallout across Africa. Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana react. This headline suggests the visa scam has sparked reactions in Nigeria, Kenya, and Ghana, indicating regional impact. These countries, major players in West and East Africa, are hubs for migration and economic activity, making them likely targets or victims of such a scam. Possible reactions. Nigeria, as a hub for cybercrime, e.g. Yahoo Boys, Nigeria could be implicated as a source of scammers or a victim of exploitation. The Guardian notes a rise in sextortion scams, but no direct visa scam link. TheGuardian.com. Kenya. Kenya's government has faced protests over governance issues, e.g. fake fertilizer scandal. A visa scam could fuel further distrust in authorities, especially if linked to Western embassies. GIJN.org. Ghana. Ghana's youth admire Traoré, and his presence at President Mahama's 2025 inauguration drew cheers. A visa scam could resonate with Ghana's anti-imperialist sentiment, prompting protests or solidarity with Zambia. BBC.com. Evidence from sources. Ex-posts mention solidarity rallies for Traoré in Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia, suggesting a broader anti-Western movement that could tie to the visa scam narrative. Peoplesdispatch.org. No mainstream reports confirm a unified regional reaction to a visa scam, suggesting this may be an emerging or exaggerated story. The fallout likely reflects growing Pan-Africanist sentiment, but specific reactions require further evidence. Zambian government's official statement. The Zambian government's response would likely clarify its stance on the scam, outline actions taken, and address accusations against the UK/EU. However, no official statement is found in the provided sources. Likely content. Condemnation. Zambia would denounce the scam and any foreign involvement, demanding accountability. Investigation. The government might announce probes, as seen in Kenya's fake fertilizer case, where arrests followed public outcry to GIJN.org. Compensation demands. Ex-posts mention Zambia seeking billions back, suggesting a call for reparations. Context. Zambia's governance under the UPND has faced scrutiny, with leaked audio raising questions about integrity. A strong statement on a visa scam could bolster public support. ZambianObserver.com. Without a verifiable statement, this remains speculative. Is this neo-colonialism by another name? This question frames the visa scam as a form of neo-colonialism, where Western powers exploit African resources or people under modern guises. Traoré and his supporters frequently use this lens to criticize Western actions. Neo-colonialism defined. Economic exploitation. Western institutions, e.g. embassies, corporations, profiting from African desperation, as with visa fees or resource extraction. Political interference. Accusations of coup plots or destabilization, as Traoré claims against France and the US. PressTV.org. Cultural narratives. Portraying African leaders as corrupt, e.g. US General Langley's accusations against Traoré to justify intervention. ZMBABWemail.com. Relevance to the scam. If the UK/EU are implicated, the scam could be seen as neo-colonial if Western agencies profit from fraudulent visas. The scam undermines African sovereignty by exploiting migration systems. It fuels narratives of African dependency on Western approval for mobility. Without evidence, this accusation aligns with broader anti-Western sentiment but lacks substantiation. What happens next? Demands, compensation, and legal threats. This headline suggests next steps, including demands for justice, financial compensation, and legal action. Possible outcomes. Demands. Zambia and affected nations might demand investigations, sanctions, or apologies from the UK/EU. Compensation. Claims for billions back suggest financial reparations for victims or governments. Legal threats. Lawsuits against implicated agencies or international arbitration could follow, though African nations face challenges in holding Western powers accountable. Challenges. Evidence. Legal action requires concrete proof, which is currently lacking. Power imbalance. African nations have limited leverage against the UK/EU in international courts. Regional unity. The AES's defiance of ECOWAS suggests potential for coordinated action, but divisions remain. PressTV.ir. Conclusion. A wake-up call for Africa. This framing suggests the scam could galvanize African nations to address systemic issues like fraud, corruption, and foreign influence. Implications. Strengthening sovereignty. Leaders like Traoré advocate for self-reliance, which could gain traction if the scam exposes Western exploitation. Africa.org. Regional cooperation. The AES and Pan-Africanist movements might push for unified anti-scam measures. Public awareness. Exposing visa scams could empower citizens to demand transparency in migration systems. Limitations. Without a verified scandal, the wake-up call is hypothetical. Internal challenges, e.g. Burkina Faso's insurgency, Zambia's governance issues, may overshadow external critiques. Critical analysis and gaps. The provided headlines suggest a sensational narrative, possibly amplified on platforms like X, but lack corroboration from major news outlets. The X posts from July 22, 2025 hint at Zambia's demands, but are inconclusive without primary sources. Traoré's involvement aligns with his anti-imperialist rhetoric, but no evidence ties him directly to a visa scam response. The broader context of African frustration with Western influence, e.g. Traoré's popularity, AES formation, provides a backdrop, but the specifics of this scandal remain unclear.